Welcome to the Red Dirt Comedy Show, where real life meets real laughs, Red Dirt style. And now, your host, comedian William Lee Martin.
Welcome in, everybody. My guest today is, he's my neighbor, really. But I have famous people in my neighborhood in the big town of Newark, Texas, and that's where we met. And but he is a renowned artist. He is the official artist of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and a children's book author, coloring book. I don't even know if that's the word.
Yeah, I don't even know what you'd call it.
His name is Chris Brown, everybody. Chris Brown. And, Chris, first of all, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I can admit to everybody in the world, I have a man crush on you.
That's because, what you say.
No, I say it all the time. So those of you who don't know, not only is he this great artist, and he really is, and I lean on to you for your art for different projects that we'll get into, but you were also in the major leagues.
Minor leagues.
But
yeah.
You were in the farm system.
Yeah.
A baseball player. My only dream that probably would have happened if my mom and dad would have just taken me to practice, man.
Here we go.
No, it's I was a pretty good ball player, but my mom had back surgery when I was like 12, and my dad was on a truck driver. But not to bring everybody down, but my mom was on that Valium,
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Valium? Yeah,
Sure.
heavy.
Yeah, I mean, anything that, we're just breaking your back. Or having back problems or those kind of things.
Well, back then, they would overprescribe prescription drugs, and so she was zonked out. So literally, my baseball career ended with her back surgery.
No, this was in Saginaw?
Yeah, Blue Mountain. And but I made All-Stars every year, and then literally didn't get to go to another practice again after 13 because she couldn't do it. And,
well, and you're a big guy too, so if you were already getting really good at it, your chances of succeeding went up just from size.
So. But you got to live the life. How was it? How did you get recruited into baseball? How does one go from high school ball to you were in the Cubs organization
for a while?
Yeah. So how did all that happen?
I mean, it's my story. Really any baseball guy's story. It's never the same. We all have this journey that's different. And if you were to get my book, Life Lessons from the Diamond, there's 70 former major leaguers in there, and just getting to talking to them and hearing their stories, so many different ways to make it. And
how was yours?
Mine was so different. So kind of got on you call it a select team here. Sure. Back home we'd called it, the Cats. That was the, kind of like the Fort Worth Cats. And there used to be a team called the McCook Cats, and it was a minor league team, like way back, way back. Wow. Even coming out of that situation, it was kind of tough. Even if you win a state championship doesn't mean, from Nebraska, everybody wants to play for the University of Nebraska, and I did too. They never heard from them, never saw them, anything, right? So kind of had to go and make sure I was seen. And a Brave Scout actually saw me pitch in what they call Super State, my last year of Legion Ball. And so I was pitching against another state champion team, and I like two-hit them, two-hit shutout. And so the Brave Scout came up to me, and they weren't necessarily ready to draft me, but they did want me to go to a certain place so they could follow me. And that ended up being Cowley County, which is south of Wichita, Kansas. And that was probably the best thing that could ever happen to me, because I grew more in that 2 years under the Burrows brothers, Dave and Darren Burrows, probably than any other time in my life. I really grew up. I figured out what was important to me. And that was it was baseball, but it was also, I posted something the other day, and one of my former teammates said, "Yeah, we're always trying to get you out of that dorm and go do something, and you never wanted to go," because I was working on my artwork all the time.
Right.
So, and to being a poor kid growing up, it was, I wasn't going to mess around and screw anything up. I was pretty focused on what I needed to do to make something of myself. So I got kind of a funny story. I got the pitch in the All-Star game. I was the starting pitcher in the All-Star game, and my coach was my junior college coach was the coach of that team because we won conference and all that other stuff. And so I go out there. I'm ready. I'm fired up. My parents even come down, and I go out there and I walk the first 3 batters. Completely turd the bed. Right. But I wasn't done. My coach comes out and he literally I can hear him today. He's like, Brownie, I really don't know what to tell you. He wasn't even my pitching coach. His brother was the pitching coach, but Dave came out and he's like, Brownie, I really don't know what to tell you. And I was like, all right. So he goes off, and then I strike out the next 3 batters. So made him look really good. He was good, but
right.
In that certain situation, he really didn't have anything to tell me, and I don't blame him. What do you tell us a guy that is your ace and he's going out there and pooping the bed?
Yeah.
But
normally you say, "Welcome to the Rangers."
yeah. Hey man, come on.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, it's an every other day thing with the Rangers. So good one day, bad the next. Can't string it together. But so the pitching coach from Northwestern State University, the Demons out of Louisiana, D1 school, he comes up and talks to me, because I started, I'm done. I had 1 inning, and then you turn it over to the next pitcher because it's an all-star game. So I go sit with my parents. Didn't ever really get to see them much because I was gone in college now. So I sit with them, and he comes and talks to me, and actually he's like, I was really impressed with, I was like, well, thank God, because it was something to get out of that mess. You walk the 1, 2, 3 hitters, and then you strike out 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
So let's get the fast guys. Go ahead, get them on base. We'll clog it up. And then I'll just strike out everybody. That was my great game plan. But so anyway, I ended up getting a really good scholarship to Northwestern. We ended up winning 2 more conference titles in the Southland Conference, and set some records. Kind of, pitching records. I'm glad to say I still hold a few, but,
all right.
I'm getting old. So it's like, surely at some point, records are made to be broken. But the important thing is the relationships that you build kind of thing. You don't want to look back and go, well, yeah, I was miserable, but I set some records and they won't mean anything, So I was happy. I was really happy there. And got lucky, got drafted by the Cubs, and a couple years with them, I thought I did pretty well.
Wait, I don't want to skip over that part. How is it getting drafted by the Cubs? How is it getting drafted by any organization? How'd you find out? Did you get a phone call?
Well, when you're not drafted in the first round, it's not going to be a ceremonial, put it that way.
Yeah.
But growing up for any of us at that time, it was the Cubs and Braves.
Right.
That's who's on TV, and I loved the Cubs and the Braves.
Yeah.
So to get a call from the Cub Scout, Buzzy Keller, that was the scout's name. He's actually really well known.
It does sound silly, though, to say that your job is a Cub Scout.
Right. And I'm the lead Cub Scout.
I'm the lead Cub Scout. Don't let that fool you.
So he just he's like, and it was a dream come true, even though it wasn't like one of those things. When you sign after your senior year in college, unless you're just top round, I mean, you're signing a contract.
Right.
They're not going to throw a pile of money at you. But you're getting a chance to play. And that's all I wanted was a chance. And so, but literally, like, unfortunately, I called my mom, and I say unfortunately, you'll see why. I called my mom just super excited, and I tell her, and then I just kind of hop off the phone. Well, days later, it was her birthday. And I didn't say happy birthday. She later told me that was a really, really good birthday present. But
well, did you also remind her that how is your mother still alive?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How old is she?
She's great.
How old is she?
Oh, how old is she?
Yeah.
She's a young mama.
Okay.
Let's just leave it at that. She's not. We don't get into that story, but
no, I'm just gonna say, look, let's say she's even 49. Okay, Mom, you had 49 of those. You had 40. I had one.
A few of them before then.
Yeah, I had one time to get drafted, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
So you had 49. I'll make it up. And for the rest of your life, I'll say happy birthday. Right.
Well, I will tell you now, every time her birthday rolls around, I'm like getting close to the draft. And it reminds me, it's always a constant reminder, like, you better say happy birthday to Mama. You better give a call.
Mom.
Yeah.
So you go to the Cubs organization, and is it single A ball or is it?
Yeah, so I go to, they call it, the Cubs organization anyway. I don't know if they all have this, but they have short A, long A. Sometimes you get stuck staying basically at the spring training site, which is, I don't even know what that's about because I didn't experience, but didn't want to. So I went to what was called long A, and so I went to, and that's where most college guys are going to go immediately. So Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and everybody's heard of that because of the Little League World Series.
Yeah.
Now the Pirates are there, but you will see on TV pretty soon. Major league teams now are starting to play one game a year at that stadium, and it's like the second oldest stadium still running. Guys like Ruth and Gehrig and all those guys actually played on it.
The promo really made it sound like they're playing at the Little League thing. And I told my wife, I go, well, that's a bunch of boards. What, are we going to run roll everybody?
Well, it'd be, 702 to 703. But we would actually go on the road the week of the Little League World Series because we knew we weren't going to get any fans.
Right.
So they just ahead of time schedule us on the road. So I never even got to go to the Little League World Series when I was there because I could have. We didn't play till the nighttime.
Right.
So that would have been kind of cool.
So you make it through the organization, and then you're in A-ball for how long?
I like to say a year and a half, which doesn't sound long. So I had a 2.9 ERA in A-ball, and so if you compare that to nowadays, I'd be doing really well.
Yeah, you'd probably be called up.
And it was pretty good then, to be honest with you. And so then I'm thinking, great, had a good season, looking forward to next year. And then I go to spring training. Their one big thing with me my first year was I wasn't heavy enough. I was really skinny. I had like a 2% body fat coming out of college, not because I wanted to. I was just a skinny kid. Couldn't put it on if I tried, and I did. So anyway, after my first season, I actually got a job at a fitness place, and so I would work and then close, and I'd work out. And so I put on like 30 pounds of muscle. So I come into spring training, I'm chomping at the bit. Yeah, I'm chomping at the bit. And so literally spring training, it's kind of a sad story, really. I pitched 10 innings in spring training. Nobody reached base. I didn't hit anybody. They didn't get any hits. I didn't walk anybody. So the only other way I would have been more perfect was to literally strike out every batter, which I didn't. But nobody reached base. So what am I thinking? Hell, it's time to get moved up. This isn't a challenge for me. And I got released. So, and that's what you learn the hard way. It's a business. They released, I think they said like 30 pitchers that day.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. It didn't matter how you did. If you were, and I won't say names, but there was some pitchers that did get drafted a little higher that their ERA in A-ball was like 6, 7, and they didn't get released. But they gave them a lot of money to sign
because
and they're going to get that back one way or another.
Yeah.
And so they get a lot more chances. But it is what it is, and I think when you call your mom and you tell her that you're excited you got drafted, and then you got the other phone call.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
tough. That. It's tough. Yeah. Nobody ever talks about the call. You're going to call your mom. You're going to call your dad. Hey, my life just got crushed.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. Did you start out the conversation with, okay, so your birthday don't suck like my day does today?
Well, luckily I didn't get released on her birthday, but yeah. And really, honestly, it was a bad conversation when I got released with the GM at the time too. The minor league coordinator. He ended up being the GM later on. Jim Henry, if you're out there.
What'd he say?
Oh my gosh, he's just like. Well, first he starts talking about my velocity, and I'm like, well, I'm throwing 93, 94. And back then that was pretty darn good. If you can't get an out throwing 93, 94, then I don't know what you do. And I'm pitching, I'm obviously, and he can't argue that I'm not getting it done. I just threw 10 innings against your guys and everybody else down here, and I didn't give up a single base runner. You can't tell me I'm not getting it done. And so that's what I replied back to him, and he kind of got pissed. And he's just like, well, we just don't see you making it. It's like, well, I can't argue with that.
Wow.
And then the crappy thing that was said by him is, we don't have to fly you home. Kind of like, shut up or I'm not going to pay for your ticket.
Wow.
So let's just say he's never going to be on my top 10 list, Well,
that's, and again, I don't think people even think of those things.
No. Well, and a lot of people don't talk about them.
You
get your heart ripped out. You spent your entire life doing something that you absolutely love, and you get a chance to do it, and you never get to a level that you fail at, and then it's taken away from you. It's really hard to handle, and a lot of guys don't. I belong to some private, Facebook pages and stuff for former major league and minor league players, and then you just hear time and time and time and time again, divorce, alcoholism, drugs, after the fact, because they don't know what to do with their lives.
Right. Their whole life.
All of us were always all in. It was never I'm going to do this, but I'm going to have this on the side in case. There was no in case. It was, no, I'm all in. This is it. This is all I know. Of course, what was I doing on the side? I was drawing. So,
yeah.
But that was more for me at the time.
So you get released. I guess you check into rehab next.
No, actually, I signed with an independent team pretty quick.
Now you were already drawing, and were you teaching as well?
Yeah, I started teaching actually 3 years before I retired from baseball. So I was, it was a great deal because I was playing in Edinburgh for my last 3 years. Edinburgh is right next to McAllen. I knew when I went down there because I had graduated. I was ready to make a little money.
Right.
And so it was either get a job near Edinburgh, or force a trade because I knew I needed to get a job because it's very hard to get a teaching job after the school year starts.
Right.
So I actually get a job at Shareland High School, clear down there, like 5 minutes from the border. And it was cool. I taught there for 11 years. I coached baseball there the whole time I was there, just primarily as a pitching coach, and met my wife down there. She's from up here at Fort Worth, but
how did she end up down in the valley?
She went down there for a teaching job as well. She was teaching band for the longest time.
Right.
A musician.
So I love your artwork, but I also love your attitude because you're teaching you're teaching kids still now,
Right.
You teach at, can we say Boyd ISD?
I think they'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your wife is she's moved from music to art as well.
Yeah, I pulled her to the dark side.
Now, was she an artist or?
She wasn't, but she took the test. She passed the test. She is very creative.
Now, was the test? Remember the old test? A lot of kids aren't going to know this whole reference. So I took the test. What was it?
You drew the turtle. Yeah, you drew the turtle.
I think I drew the pirate.
Oh, you chose the pirate.
I think I chose the pirate
because you could choose, and then you mailed it back in.
You did?
Yeah.
And I picked the pirate, and I mailed it in, and they sent me it back, and they said I was good, man.
Yeah, they can't do that now because people would literally just go, "Oh, I got an app that'll do that."
Click.
Done. No, the actual test. You got to take the other test to get certified anyway. But she was already a teacher, so she did have to take the fine arts test. That's like 250 questions. So you can imagine coming up with 250 different questions for art. It's not. There's art history. There's a lot of techniques. It bounces all over the place, and then they'll throw in some stuff that like knitting and sewing. Yeah, that's not something I'm gonna teach in my classes. There are some art teachers that do.
Do they really?
Yeah. Hey, look, there's a place for everything. There's a lot of teachers that will do crocheting and stuff like that, and I think you can do some cool stuff. I had a student this last year that actually went to state for a piece that she crocheted at home.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal. And actually this year, even though she's an AP portfolio, she has to pick her either medium, or there has to be something connecting all the pieces, so a central theme. And so I said, hey, you need to pick a central theme, because you're really good at painting. She sent a painting to state too, but you're really good at painting, but let's do it to where we can do both of them. So I do push that. I don't teach it. She doesn't do it in my class. So I don't really take credit for it, because I didn't teach her a thing on that. But anyway, so those questions will come up, and when I took it, there was like 5 in that section. And the only reason I got them all right is because my mom sewed and crocheted when I was growing up. And I remember I don't remember now, but I remembered the different stitches and this and that. And so you get your results back, you see everything. And I literally got all 5 right. So thanks, Mom.
That's awesome. Well, it's I love the fact that you went and went to baseball, and then went to this art thing. But one thing that I always talk about is that most of the time we don't know the journey that we're on. We think we're on a journey. Like when I was writing advertising, I was absolutely miserable. But when I decided to go on to stand-up comedy at 30,
which you tell me that's late in the game.
That's late in the game. Yeah. So when
it's starting to be a baseball player at 30, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I went into that, what I realized is that I was ahead of most of the comedians, because I knew how to write a press release. Because I didn't have, you can't afford a PR firm then. I knew how to contact businesses. I knew how to contact back then, newspapers were still a thing.
What was that?
Newspapers. They came in paper, and you read them,
like
and you
a book?
opened them, like a book, but it came daily. And and that's the thing with your journey. You think you're on this journey for baseball, and here you are, really on the journey that with a skill that lasts your lifetime. So baseball, even if you're really good in the major leagues, 30, 31, and you're done.
Yeah, I would say I'm really, really good friends with Ryan LaVarnway. For people that don't know it, he was up and down. I think he got brought up and sent down 28 times.
Wow.
Right? And could have given up any of those times, right? Ended up winning a World Series with the Red Sox, one of their World Series. I illustrated his book. He's in my book. And that's how we met, really. I had contacted him about being in my book, and then he's like, hey, he calls, and he's like, hey, by the way, I'm writing a book. And I guess I can say this. He had a lady in mind to illustrate the book, and he had seen my work, and he's like, I think you can tell the story better.
Right.
So we'll just leave it at that. And so I was like, well, that's fine, as long as you haven't already told her she's going to do it. I'm not stepping on anybody's toes.
She's a big fan of Georgie O'Keeffe.
Yeah, that's not the message I'm trying. So anyway, he goes around the country now speaking on resilience, and so corporations and businesses and all these different places have him come in, and that's his big thing.
Yeah.
Why not you? Because a lot of people will give up. I tell the kids in Boyd the same thing. Like, I keep hearing you say the same thing, that you can't make it because you're from Boyd. You're from Little Boyd, Texas, Boyd, America. And then, so I put up all the pictures of me on one whole wall of all these different people I've met. And then I make sure they know I come from a town of 8,000 people. Right. Not saying I'm anything big, because then what I go on and tell them is, you see all these people, very few of them are actually from big cities. Most of them are from small little towns, just like Boyd.
I do want to, for those of you who are watching the podcast and not just listening to it, I do want to pull up some of your artwork. Clay, if you'd be so kind, your website is Chris Brown
sportsart.net.
Sportsart.net. And if those of you who are looking, click on the third one from the left, which was one of my favorite players. ever. Our coach is Ron Washington.
He actually texted me today.
He texted you today?
Yeah. So he's, for those out there that, I mean, I'm probably sure everybody knows. Anybody knows him knows he stepped away from being the manager for the Angels.
Yeah.
And it was because he was having some health problems. And so I was just, and I'm never looking to hear back. I had his number. I've done his portrait, his Hall of Fame portrait. And he's just a really, really nice guy, even outside of baseball. And I got to hang out with him and his wife and just super, super nice people. But so I knew he was dealing with something pretty serious, or he would have never stepped away.
Right.
Turns out he had like a quadruple bypass.
Holy cow.
Something crazy. Yeah, it's pretty serious. And so I just kept kind of just, hey, man, praying for you, you know, hoping, and I know you're really missing baseball. He's been in baseball his whole life.
Right.
So, you know, and again, he never really, sometimes I don't hear back, but today he just kind of, he texted back quick, kind of thanking me for the prayers. And
now all these guys, we can go to some other ones, Clay. All these guys, have you met everybody?
I think so on this page. Yeah, Kyle Williams.
Yeah.
Still a big guy if you ever run into him. Yeah, Abdul Rauf unfortunately didn't come to his induction ceremony. He was still playing in the Big Three.
Okay.
You guys heard of the Big Three?
Oh yeah.
Right. So he's up there in age, but that guy was so legit in college and in the pros.
There's the Jason Witten.
Jason Witten, head coach around here. He's very close.
Yeah, he's doing high school coaching.
Won a state championship already.
He was awful as an announcer. Bless his heart. No, it was.
I didn't even listen to him.
He's such a good. People also don't realize how hard that job is too.
Yeah.
To talk about football and not just watch football. It's hard to describe to people, even though it's television. Peyton Manning, I mean, all the Mannings are Louisiana boys.
Yeah.
You know, because their dad played in New Orleans.
So I've met Peyton and Eli and Arch and Mama Manning.
Scroll a little bit more, Clay. Let's see some more of these. Oh, Kiss. I'm next to Kiss.
I really, really started liking art, like loving art, because of Norman Rockwell.
Okay.
Right. And so Norman, I've read his autobiography twice. I've got books upon books of his work. And what he was able to do, he would take a lot of people from his community, wherever he lived.
Right.
I think he ended up being in Connecticut, but he would take them and pose them in different ways. But he had a way of, I mean, there were some that were serious, but there were some that they were cool to look at, but they just a little comical. Right. And so I've always said cartoonists are the comedians of the art world, you know, and I like to think I've got a pretty good sense of humor. And so this is just my chance to kind of, not all of it. I mean, yes, yours is funny, but it's it's not taking things to the extreme. You know, you look at Gene Simmons' tongue. That's
actual size, so that's actual.
Oh, maybe.
You know, I don't know if I ever told you, but I love to draw, and it started with drawing the four guys from Kiss.
Yeah. As
it did with most people. And a lot of people that lived in the late 70s, especially if you were in band like I was, I mean, what four iconic... Mm-hmm. And do you realize they just sold their likeness and their name? They licensed all of it for, I want to say, $33 million.
That's kind of underselling it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not their catalog, though, right?
Not their catalog. It might have been $330 million. I don't know.
Still.
It's a lot of money.
It's interesting.
But their likeness.
Yeah. They're getting up there a little bit.
Yeah.
They're probably like, what are we going to do? But I don't know their family situations. But you've been in my studio, and you've seen the 8-foot Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
And again, I'm like, I'm going to put it right over here. I've got a portion that's a weight room, and so Gene's got to be in there because he's got that tongue sticking out and that face paint going.
How about your kids' book? Is that on here as well? Can we find that?
I took the link off that.
Okay.
Right. So if you go to Amazon.com and you look up Life Lessons from the Diamond.
Let's say that slower. Life Lessons from the Diamond.
From the Diamond. And even put Chris Brown, and it'll pop right up. Okay. And the book, I'm very, very proud of the book. It was a lot of work. Books are a lot of work.
Absolutely.
So I have 70 former major leaguers, umpires. I've got a pro scout, a GM from the Phillies. I mean, I really tried to get a little bit of everybody that has something to do with Major League Baseball. And they gave me a life lesson that they learned either growing up or literally from the game. I was after, give me something from the game. But a lot of times they're like, well, I learned this when I was like 10, and I took it all the way through my career, and I still live by that. And it's, the reason I thought of it, I was like, man, I learned so many things from playing the game that literally I do every single day, even now, and I'm 50. I've been out of baseball for a long, long time, but that's who I am. I've got a short memory, not because I'm getting old, but because I choose to. Like, something happens, it happened. Move forward, and that's that whole thing. All right, well, you just gave up a home run.
All right.
You got to pitch.
I admire your work, and now you got a coloring book. Why don't you tell everybody about the coloring book?
Yeah, which is something I didn't think I would ever do or even have an interest in doing. It's very, very different from, well, really anything I do.
Yeah, because you normally colored in.
Yeah. You would think. So here's a little, so I used to hide this from, I'm not coming out of the closet or anything. I used to hide this from.
I'm getting a scoop. Paula's going to be pissed.
Late breaking news. No
wonder he hugs me from behind.
I love you. So I'm colorblind.
Really?
I am.
How did I not know this?
I don't know.
Well, because
I'm really good at hiding it. So I hid it from all the way through college. My college instructors, art instructors, being an art major myself, they didn't exactly like me. And it's because I was an athlete. There was only me and one football guy in the whole art department.
Right.
And they didn't make it a secret, And it was mainly because they didn't think we were putting as much time into our art as everybody else. And I'm thinking, sure, we just don't sleep.
Right.
I promise you, there's nobody else in this department that's drawing on the bus. Just because I'm going to Houston for a tournament doesn't mean I'm not drawing. It's not easy, bounce around a little bit, but it's not, But so anyway, so I hid it from them literally all the way through. Graduated. So I'm technically red-green. They call it red-green color blindness. But when they give you the test, if you go take, it's not the pixels with the colors mixed in. I mean, that's one way to figure it out. But so I go to this eye doctor. I just kind of wanted some documentation, being an art teacher, being the artist for the Hall of Fame. It's like, I might want to legally go get some documentation. So I go into this guy, and he's got their pastel beads, and he lays them out, and there's like 28 of them, and so they're all in a line, and he's like, I need you to arrange these in darkest to lightest. And I was like, really? I go, I think they are already. And he goes, no. He goes, why don't you just give it a try? I was like, all right. So when you get the results back, that goes from numbers. So when you look at it, it should, if you get them all right, it's a full circle, right? Mine looked like, I got one right out of 28. So it tells you I'm really red-green colorblind. Like, if anything's even similar, I won't be able to tell it apart.
Wow.
Right. So that guy was so blown away by that he gives me another test, a different kind of test. I get one right. And so he didn't even charge me for any of it. He was just, I don't know, I think maybe he felt bad.
So are you telling me that the dog is drawing these because you're blind?
Yeah. Hobbs does a lot of artwork.
That's amazing that you're an art teacher, a famous artist, and you're colorblind.
I am, and I use a lot of colors. I use like 12 different colors just in my skin tones a lot of times. I can't. I told somebody the other day that my biggest regret when I go to heaven is I'll never be able to see my artwork the way everybody else did. I can only see it how I see it. I don't have everybody else's eyes. So it's kind of I don't even know how to really think about that.
Big fella, that's the sweetest thing you've ever said to me, staring at my eyes.
Deep into your eyes.
No, that was
so,
amazing, prophetic. I'm just saying that was prophetic.
So, and I say that because obviously I know all about roadblocks. I know, that sometimes there's going to be something put in front of you that seems like there's no way I can do that. But I loved it so much that I didn't care, and then finally I got to a point to where I had made enough buzz and gotten enough attention and established myself enough artwork wise without anybody knowing. My big thing was, hey, judge the artwork without knowing that.
Right.
Because as soon as somebody finds out that you're doing that, and then they go look at your artwork, they're gonna really look for that. Right. What's different? Yeah.
Excuse me, why is Shaquille O'Neal white?
He's not Hispanic. So anyway, I get a call doing a story, and this guy's interviewing me, and he literally says the words, "Hey, are you colorblind?" And my response was, "Where'd you hear that?" Because I hadn't told anybody. And then he goes, "I don't know who told me." I was like, no. And so now it becomes I'm interviewing him. I'm like, "Where do you live?" And he goes, "I live in Natchitoches." I go, "You wear glasses?" Which is kind of an odd question, but I knew where I was going. So, "You wear glasses?" He goes, Yeah. I said, "Pete Wardell is your eye doctor?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, Pete was my college roommate." He's telling everybody. Right. It wasn't because he was being spiteful or anything. He's still one of my good friends. It was because he appreciated it so much, and he was getting so many people coming in that were colorblind. He would say, "Hey, this isn't a problem. Look at this guy." And so I kind of appreciate that, but at the same time, I'm like, "God, Pete," And so then I worry, every kid. I tell them now, but kids telling their parents, "Yeah, my art teacher's colorblind." Yeah. By the way, here's an article in Business Times. Here's an article in CEO Weekly. Here's, Beckett Magazine, and that kind of like, I guess it's okay. But so it comes out, and I call the Hall of Fame and tell Doug, and he's the president of the board, and he and I go way, way back, and so I told him, I was like, "Hey, this is going to come out," because I just at that point didn't care, I'm like, whatever, I've done enough, who cares? And so he's like, "Man, I think we run with that. I think that's amazing." And so I was so relieved. I was just like, oh. So now it's in the media guide every year, for the Hall of Fame. I got a couple pages in there. It's my story, and then there's a paragraph about me being colorblind. So
yeah, because we talked for an hour, and I'm gonna tell you right now. From now on, when you do these interviews with other people more famous than I, that's your lead story.
Well, you got to understand where it comes from.
I get it.
I don't want people to look through that lens at my work.
No.
So, but it's definitely out there now, really worldwide. I mean, one of those magazines has like 50 million readers every week worldwide, and I think it was in there. Maybe, I don't know.
Buddy, I'm a huge fan, and I glad I count you as a friend. You can find him at chrisbrownsportsart.net. Look at me. I got it. And
I should have rethought that and made it a little shorter.
Well, I go through the same thing. We were WilliamLeeMartin.com, which made a lot of sense because that's my name. But when you have to type out WilliamLeeMartin.com, it gets old.
Or William Lee Martin at William Lee Martin.
Oh yeah. So we've shortened that up to WL Martin, but you can get there anyway.com. But I want you to make sure y'all check out his art. He's also open for commissions. So if you want to commission some art, I have some of it. You can see some of it here in this studio in a couple of weeks or so. But make sure you join the Red Dirt Comedy Nation. That's at reddirtcomedy.com. And for all of you out there, don't forget this podcast, okay? This one is all about resilience and finding the thing that you want to do, all right? So I love you. He loves you. And until then, adios.
Thanks again for listening. For tour tickets and to join the Red Dirt Comedy Nation at reddirtcomedy.com. Till next time, adios, Red Dirt Nation.